Nigeria has just historically been a very corrupt country. And, you know, like I said, I remember going in 2018, as soon as you get off the plane, like the TSA people are like, what gift do you have for me? Like,
wow,
in order to get through.
I was going to ask, like, what's the geopolitical landscape like today? It's
still very, very corrupt. You have people who, like here in the States, when you have people who grew up in poverty, like one of the things that I'm speaking for the inner city, a lot of inner city kids look to in order to rise out of that poverty are, you know, music or sports or selling drugs in some cases. In Nigeria, like there's so much poverty, but what people look to in order to like rise out of that is politics. Because you can go into politics broke, poor, and come out a billionaire. And so you get a lot of politicians, not a millionaire, a billionaire. So you get a lot of politicians that, you know, they run just to be able to get a seat of power so they can steal money. And they steal money, and then after their time, they flee to London. They go to London, they come to the U.S., and they live large for the rest of their lives. And so my dad, that was systemic, and it's been systemic, and it still is. But my dad, knowing that, you know, he didn't need to go back to Nigeria. The only reason why he went back to Nigeria is because he wanted to develop like an Africa Wall Street. And so he wanted to spend his money to create a structure that would allow Nigeria to thrive from a business perspective, and not just Nigeria, but Africa as a whole, you know, but you know, the evils, the greed, the corruption kind of, you know, took over, and my dad was essentially taken out, and everything he owned for the most part, which is the most valuable asset he had, Banana Island, which exists to this day, is now, it was known as Lagoon City, but it's now known as Banana Island, was taken from him, and he died, and we went from rich to poor.
Yeah, and he was constantly fighting those forces of evil, you could say. Like that was a daily battle. There's always something new. Always trying to screw him over. That's unfortunate. And the question I have is, like, being in the position, you know, former Navy SEAL. You also understand the culture over there quite a bit. Do you think there's a way to fix that deep-rooted corruption?
I'm laughing because when I was in Nigeria, I asked this very question. I was going on a news station to share my story, and you know, my dad's well known in Nigeria, and so I asked one of the news reporters. I won't mention her name because it's a very controversial statement she said. But when we were riding on a boat to the news station, I said, "What can be done? Like, what can be done to like fix this corruption so that it ends?" Because as we were on the boat, they were islands. Like literally, we were passing, because Lagos is, you know, there's a lot of islands around Lagos, right? And so there was about 2 or 3 islands we passed that were like that people inhabited, but they were just like trash islands. And you see these like naked kids walking around, and you just see all of this like abject poverty. And you know, she was shaking her head, and there's no reason. Like, Nigeria should be like a Saudi Arabia, because Nigeria,
that's what I was thinking of in my head. Why are those islands not centers of,
well, it should be, well, Nigeria has oil. A lot of people don't know this. Nigeria has like a lot of oil, a lot of natural gas, cocoa, a lot of natural resources and minerals and so on and so forth. So there's no reason why Nigeria shouldn't be like a freaking like Saudi Arabia. But because of the corruption, everybody steals. So I say all that to say, I asked this reporter, I said, what can be done to fix this? And I don't agree with her response, but she was like, you got to everybody up into the age of like 7, because even at 7, 8, they're still corrupt. They learn to be very corrupt, and then we start all over from there. I was like, dang. She's like, I was like, there's no other way. She's like, that's the only way.
And she's this is coming from
a local Nigerian reporter who grew up in Nigeria.
And so she's very controversial within that setting, you're saying, right?
No, she's not controversial at all. She just made that statement because she's just so fed up with the corruption, just like so many Nigerians are so fed up with the corruption. I get messages like every week from people in Nigeria saying, please, I want to get out of here. I want to bring me to America. Help sponsor me, help do this, help do that. Or help me get into the military. I want to join the military like you so that I can, leave this country, this godforsaken place. These are Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians. And